back here on First Up, the first stop in your busy day. And well, this is going to be a pretty interesting and exciting segment because we're welcoming home a daughter of the soil who has made an amazing contribution to the development of science and technology. And I'm talking about space science and technology. That's right, she worked at the prestigious NASA. We want to say good morning and welcome to Camille Wardrop Alleyne. She's an aerospace engineer at the NASA Johnson Space Center in Houston, in Texas, in the US of A. And why is she here? Well, she's here for a special lecture that's taking place this week. And to tell us more about that, we have our friend from Nihus, Christiane Francois, to kick us off. So Christiane, tell us about the special lecture.
I just want to clarify, she's not just here for that. She was here primarily for Caribbean Youth Science Forum. Remember, we were here last year with Anil Kukaram. So we're back again this year, the summertime 1 week camp conference forum that we do for sixth formers in science from across the region. So we have Trinidad and Tobago, Grenada, Barbados, and Jamaica coming to in Trinidad now at the 1 week sort of forum that is prepared. We have a fantastic program of lectures and presentations, and Camille came down. We invited her down as the keynote speaker for the opening ceremony on Sunday. She also did a session yesterday. She was, thanks to Camille, that those same Caribbean students, 12 in particular, got to ask the astronaut on board, Satoshi Furukawa, the astronaut on board the International Space Station, questions, and they became the first Caribbean people to hook up to the International Space Station ever.
We have a package in that from CNews correspondent Roger Dwarka. Let's refresh our memory and come back and talk to Camille at Wardrop Alleyne.
Yes, that's correct, 1511.
A small blip on the screen showed the position of the International Space Station as it followed its trajectory 220 miles above the Earth, traveling at some 17,000 miles an hour. This was a very technical ham radio link-up with the ISS and required the combined assistance of the TT Amateur Radio League, the Canadian ARIS coordinators, the Central Argentinian ham operator, and the Johnson Space Center, Houston, Texas.
I'm worried about losing Luis or Trinidad.
Michael, are you still there?
Yes, Steve, I'm still here.
The exercise began at 11 a.m. with anxious CYSF students from Trinidad, Grenada, Jamaica, Barbados and St. Lucia packed into Lecture Room 1, UWI, for this historic experience, the first of its kind in the Caribbean. All eyes were on the little blip as it tracked its way towards Argentina, which would place it within transmitting distance of Trinidad at 11:13 a.m. A voice from above would resonate moments later as the 13 Caribbean students each posed a question to Japanese astronaut Satoshi Furukawa.
So you can speak with the student. Good luck. Over.
To you, over.
The question.
Go ahead, students.
Hi, I'm Shanice. How is the ISS powered, and how does the station use its power source to maintain orbit? Over.
Generates power using solar energy. ISS uses engine power, not electric power, to maintain orbit. Its altitude is about 400 kilometers, and it loses altitude.
Hi, I'm Christopher. What is most difficult about living in space and then readjusting to being back on Earth? Over.
Okay, adjusting to microgravity may be challenging. About 2/3 of rookie astronauts experience space sickness. They have nausea. It is thought to be an adaptation process to microgravity environment.
Through an educational program called Amateur Radio for the ISS, the ground station can link global ham radio operators to speak with astronauts twice per week, provided the station is within the country's trajectory. The team facilitating the 10-minute communication included a Trinidad-born scientist at NASA.
Well, on board the space station, we have antennas, different frequencies. We have S-band and KU band and UHF frequency band antennas. And on the ground in New Mexico, we have a ground tracking station. So communication goes from Houston Space Center, where we have mission control, where really all the commands to the station are uplinked. It goes through the ground station in New Mexico, and then we have 2 orbiting, tracking, and data relay satellites in orbit that the commands go through to the space station.
The scientist has spent more than 15 years working for NASA in various special space programs. Her latest project is America's next hope for the new final frontier.
So Orion is going to be able to take us to maybe orbit the moon, take us to an asteroid, learn to rendezvous with such an extraterrestrial body, and hopefully onto Mars.
For these students, the event placed the Caribbean on the world map as seen from above.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've shared a moment in history, contacting the ISS.
Roger Dwarica, C News.
And that's very much
Yes,
CNews
that's
correspondent Roger Dwarica for that. Over and out, or Roger. Okay, so let's get back to business. What was that experience like for the students who participated in it? I mean, what did you see on their faces? What did they tell you afterwards?
They were so inspired to be able to real time talk to a human being that's not on this earth. It was, for me, I was moved to tears, really, to experience that.
The International Space Station, I'm looking at the tracking, is traveling at
500 miles per hour.
17,500 miles per hour, moving across.
It takes 90 minutes to do an orbit, so it sees every 45 minutes, night and
so
day.
So it goes
night
around
and day.
the globe faster than I can get to San Fernando.
Absolutely. Before you blink.
How inspirational is it, Christiane, for the students, and by example, people looking on to see a Trini girl, full-blooded Trini girl, Camille, being able to achieve being an aerospace engineer at NASA, working on projects like this, working on projects like the Orion project, in terms of their interest in science, which is NAHA's mandate?
Well, I'll speak really quickly because Camille has lots of good things about that as well. But that's why we do this. We really show them, you know, it's not just Camille, but we have a lot of local fantastic scientists and engineers participate in CYSF. And it's really to give it's not just to give them technical information, it's to give them, and not just inspiration, but it's really to show them the cutting edge issues. And Camille being an example, her own life story is fantastic, which may not be able to, she can give some sense of it. So it's really about how they are able to see the application, how they're able to go beyond their own definitions or restricted sense of who they are, of what the region can do, of what we are capable of, and the role of science and technology, the critical role of science and technology in development, and the interconnectedness now. All of that is just a fantastic example of there are no boundaries. There are no boundaries in space anymore. And they know that generation is kind of au fait with it, but the reality of it, of getting from their little state as students to being the next, you know, possibly being the first Caribbean astronaut, that becomes a reality when we bring to them the icons and the Caribbean people that are achieving at the highest levels that could achieve.
Let's get a bit in terms of young people looking on, or anyone looking on for that matter, because I'm totally impressed and proud. I have a sense of pride as to your accomplishments.
Thank you.
What has your journey been like from Trinidad Tobago to this amazing job?
It's been incredible and extraordinary. I was born here, as you said. I went to Micarapa Girls RC School and St. Francois Girls College for high school, and I left here at 17 years old to attend college. So I attended Howard University, where I studied mechanical engineering with aerospace, always with a passion for space and airplanes and flying things. So
you didn't just want to be a pilot, you wanted to fly in space?
Absolutely. I'm an aspiring astronaut.
What was the journey like from Howard, your graduation at Howard, to NASA, and what's working at NASA like? I mean, we all have these images of
Glamorous.
NASA, Star Trek, and things that we saw in these sci-fi movies literally coming to life.
The journey was a long one. I ended up having to go to graduate school because I was not yet a citizen of the United States, which you must be to work for NASA. I always had my eyes set on NASA when I was a freshman in college. I tell this story when the Challenger accident happened and it killed 7 astronauts. That was the first time I knew about NASA or a space shuttle or an astronaut as a career. And I was hooked at that point. So I set my eyes on working there. So when I graduated with my master's degree, from Florida A&M University. I was fortunate enough to get hired on as a special compensation. And I remember driving into the gates of Kennedy and just being there, seeing the space shuttle on the launch pad for the first time. It was beyond my wildest dreams.
Mm. How many people who, you know, you've told this story to, how many young people have decided, I want to have that feeling. I want to be like you. I'm going to follow in your footsteps. How many young Caribbean people can we expect, say, in the next 10, 15, 20 years, we'll be talking to and about the way we're talking to and about you right now?
I don't know how many will actually go into space. I know their minds are opened up to something that they've never thought about before, something that is actually possible that they can make happen. But what I tell them is whatever it is, whether it's space or science or the arts or humanities, find your passion and follow that. That's how you illuminate the world.
But I should just like to say that after her lecture on Sunday, and possibly yesterday, you asked all of them, and they all, I want to do the same thing. So they all, for a moment anyway, all thought, I want to go there. I want to follow that trajectory too. I mean, maybe they won't.
But then you see, sometimes there's a disconnect to what you think, where you think you can get. And you see someone born here, not even leaving at 5 or 3 years old, literally going through primary and secondary school in Trinidad and Tobago, and understanding that there is a path that one can take.
Absolutely.
There are steps that one can take to get there. What are the types of careers, would you say, being someone who works in that industry now at the highest level, that are available, not necessarily what you do, but are available to young people who are interested in science?
Oh my gosh, it runs the gamut from engineering and science to writers. We have a writer on our staff that writes all our stories on the scientific research that we do on the space station, and she puts it out on the web. So writing is a career. We have marketers, we have accountants, we have business people. I mean, the gamut of careers is very wide.
But even in the science careers, I think there's satellite development, all the sub disciplines surrounding aerospace. So even if they're not getting into aerospace engineering, I mean, you know better than I would, all of the things like satellite technology, about IT and all of those sort of disciplines that kids
communication
within the sciences that they can develop that are part of, even if it's not about building an aerospace capability locally, those are the building blocks and the technologies that need to be developed for our capability, no matter what, whether we're building an aerospace academy or not. Those technologies are the building blocks of the new world era, and so if they explore into the fields like Camille, if we start developing or interest a capability in that, we end up with kids with capabilities and people with capabilities in all kinds of disciplines that feed every other industry in the world. Probably.
Camille, how long does one of those astronauts run a cycle, stay in space on the space station?
6 months at a time.
6 months?
It's a long duration space flight. We're learning how the human body adapts to space so that we can go on to further to zero gravity, so that we can go on to further exploration.
Which is a good point to talk about the lecture, Camille, the public lecture she's doing on Thursday. It's you want to tell them about it. She's actually the International Space Station. Well, you tell them what.
So I'm the assistant program scientist for the International Space Station, which is a scientific laboratory built by 5 space agencies. And so on Thursday, I will be talking about what the space station is, the type of research we are doing on the space station that benefits humankind. The science of microgravity, how things grow in space versus how they grow on Earth. And they're things that we even don't think about, that it's mind-blowing.
Because we take gravity for granted.
We take gravity for granted.
Just a quick heads up, folks, I've actually put a link on our Facebook pages to the flyer with information on this public lecture. It's got information as to where it's taking place and also some of the background to what Camille will be discussing in the public lecture coming up on Thursday at UE this week. So you can check out that information. Camille, let's talk about your foundation now. Brightest Star Foundation. Could you tell us when you started it, why you started it, and what it's achieved?
Wow. So I started it back in 2007. It's called the Brightest Stars Foundation, and it has a mission to educate, empower, and inspire young women around the world to be future leaders in scientific and technological fields. I started it actually sitting at NASA headquarters one day, looking around, realizing there were no little ones in the pipeline that looked like me, and that I had an obligation because of how far I had come and the accomplishments that I had achieved to give back. And so that I know it starts with education. My mother stressed that is a value that I know it's such a gift to give someone an education. No one can take that from them. And so I wanted to give back in that way. So my vision is to create a network of space and science academies for girls around the world.
And what's next? I understand you're working on the next wave. America has just shut down the shuttle program.
Yes.
And there's a new wave coming.
Yes. It's called the Orion, or the Multi-Purpose Crew Vehicle. It's the next generation of human space craft. And it will have the capability to take us beyond low Earth orbit. Up till now, the shuttle could only take us to low Earth orbit, and that's where we've been. We've been to the moon, but it's been 40 years. So we want to recreate that technology, hopefully be able to orbit the moon, go to asteroids, and eventually take humans to Mars.
Wow. So you've got a lot of work to do.
A lot of work.
We want to thank you for coming in. The lecture theatre is Lecture Theatre 1
yeah,
at
6:30 on Thursday.
6:30.
Yeah, 6:30 p.m. at Lecture Theatre 1 at University of
Is there still room?
There's room. Lecture Theatre 1 is huge, so yeah.
But
we do like
publicity and with this inspiration, you
yeah,
might just like.
we wouldn't mind if people just called in to reserve. It's always advisable.
Where should they call?
622-7880, Laura Superville. You can just call in an RSVP at Nehurst, yeah. And also we're taking the opportunity just to say that Nehurst just published its 5th volume of Caribbean Icons in Science Technology. We do books on finding all the scientists and technologists and innovators. We've done 4 volumes so far, highlighting the work, the lives and the achievements of Caribbean scientists. And we've just published the 5th volume, literally hot off the press. And this is Caribbean Women in Science and Their Careers. Camille is in there. And so we're using the opportunity of her lecture and her visit to present copies of this to the Trinidad and there are other Caribbean icons in here, but to the Trinidad and Tobago icons, and there are many, there are about 20 in this book. And so at the end of the lecture, there'll just be a very short handover of the copies of the book to the women who are featured, the Caribbean women, the Trinidad and Tobago Caribbean women.
More points of inspiration.
More points, yeah.
All right, ladies, thank you very much for coming. We'll be talking to communication specialist Christiane Francois and, of course, Camille Wardrop Alleyne, aerospace engineer, NASA Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas. Don't forget, this coming Thursday, 6:30 p.m., Lecture Theatre 1 at UWI campus, St. Augustine. You can call Nehurst for more information and for bookings. Congratulations on all your great work.
Thank you.
You're inspirational. We'll take a short break and come back and focus on more inspiration, this time from Camille Swap. More coming up after this.